Now it's time for today's perspective, and there are real fears that up to 70% of girls will soon be in early or forced marriages in Afghanistan. And to make matters worse, now there is a new law that means that divorce at any future stage would be totally impossible if the husband were to disagree. Well, activists say that the shameful new law will further then place girls and women in a subordinate, legally unequal position to men. Well, with me now is writer and journalist, founder of the NGO Women Beyond Borders, Mursal Sayas. Thanks very much for coming in to talk to us today. Before we talk about the new development with this new law, more generally, how much of a problem is forced marriage for girls, for women in Afghanistan?
Thank you so much for having me and bringing up this subject, vital subject. In Afghanistan, even before the Taliban, with all the law and legislation that we had, the situation for the women and children were not equal, were not fair. We were trying a lot to codify the early marriages or underage marriages and to make it banned. But now, the last decree, I try to not call them law because as the Taliban is not a legislative government, we try to call them just some decrees and some codes that they make by their own, and the people are not happy and satisfied with that. So these recent decrees are, in one of the articles, they says if a minor is married by their legal guardian, they can annul or cancel the marriage when they have their puberty. In Afghanistan, it means for the girls when they have their first period. What does it mean? It means the guardians can marry the children before even their first period or before their puberty. So this is how they encourage the society to even marry the children, which is insane, and of course it can encourage a lot of the child marriages and even giving birth for those little girls.
I mentioned that figure of 70% of women being pushed into forced marriage. Estimates are that 2/3 of them are women under 18 here we're talking about.
That is true. That is even, I'm sure the statistics, they are less than what the reality is in Afghanistan, because we don't have access to the remote areas in Afghanistan. We don't have access to the people who we can survey and have the exact numbers of the people. But the thing is, there is culturally this problem in Afghanistan as well, that they don't think the early marriages can be forced marriage. They think if there is also this saying that people, if you beat a girl with a hat and if she is not falling down, it means she is ready for the marriage. This was before even the Taliban. So now with all these decrees and laws that the Taliban bring up, all those articles, they legalize all this violence in Afghanistan, which means, mostly under 17, and it starts from even 9 years old. They can be all the children that they cannot go to school, so their families think what they can do, just they marry them. They marry them, they force them to marry, and even the Taliban, the recent report that UN published about the human rights situation and women's rights situation in Afghanistan, they were saying that abusing and sexual abuse of the children by the Taliban, they were forcing the children to marry with them even. When we say children, of course, that girls from 9, 8 to 17 or 18 years old.
Tell us what the new law or decree is then. Basically, it means that if a woman or a girl has been in a forced marriage, it's virtually impossible for them to escape that if the husband disagrees.
Exactly, it is. And before coming here, I was taking some notes of this decrees, what they were saying. For example, in one of the decrees, they say the husband can discipline the wives if they are not right. They can correct the women and discipline the women. So these women can be children that they forced to marriage. And also, for example, in this decree, they also say a marriage, if it's happened without the permission of the father or the guardian, which of course it's the male, the uncles, the brothers, the fathers. So this marriage can not be accepted by the Taliban's court or by their law. So if I am an adult and I decide to go and marry with some other adult, so then it's not recognized if my father is not agree with this. But at the same time, if I am a child and my father they can marry me, and I can cancel this only when I get my first puberty, and I have to go to the court and I have to prove that this marriage is not fair for me, that I'm suffering. And we don't know which kind of suffering that they're saying. If your husband can discipline you, can beat you, your father can force you to marry. So which reasons that would you have to cancel this marriage?
Is it possible to know what the reality is on the ground? I mean, presumably it depends very, very much on the kind of people and the way that each family operates. I mean, are there ways that some girls can actually get out of marriage, or is the law so specified in one way and the culture laid out in such a way that actually, no, it's completely up to the men?
Unfortunately, no. The violence in Afghanistan is so systematic, and it is exactly the apartheid and regime esclavage that we call it right now, because the Taliban, they refused recently two decrees, one for the penal code and the other the divorce code. So in the divorce code, all the ways that a woman can ask for divorce, before in Afghanistan and in Sharia, there is just four reasons that a woman can ask for a divorce. If their husband do not pay for the food and the accommodation, if they are missing for a long time, then 5 years, or if they commit violence at home, or if they have some health problem like reproductive health. So these were even before the options that women can ask for divorce. And right now, they are all also cancelled. They say if a husband is missing for several years, and like let's say 10 years, after 10 years when he came back and her wife is already married, so this marriage can be cancelled and she should stay with her first husband. So almost like all of the ways that women can get out of this circle is banned.
Very difficult, of course, for women to actually show their anger over this. There have been some demonstrations in Kabul, though, haven't there?
Well, I respect this all the time, and I want to bring this subject all the time. Yes, the anger of the women in Afghanistan, they do a lot of manifestation. Of course, when they were manifesting on the streets, they were arrested by the Taliban. There were violence and they were tortured. They were imprisoned by the Taliban. This last report says even they were abused sexually by the Taliban. So I also documented a lot of these testimonies of women for the podcast that I'm creating right now. But the thing is, yeah, still they continue, but at the same time, the regime is putting more operation yesterday and the day before in Herat province. I sent some pictures to your colleagues if we could have them. They're arresting the women on the street, like a lot of women just for the Taliban, that they were saying your dress is not appropriate, and this inappropriation was just the color of their dresses, and they were fully covered. Even if they were not, it doesn't mean they should be arrested. But the Taliban still they are looking for excuses to arrest and to put more operation on women and suppress them.
Mursal Sayas, thanks very much for coming in and talking to us today on the programme. Mursal Sayas there from the NGO Women Beyond Borders. Thanks very much.